Welcome back to the podcast. Christine McDannell is here from the magnoliafirm.co. Now, Christine McDannell is a serial entrepreneur. She's an author and a speaker, and she is the founder and principal business intermediary of the Magnolia Firm, which is an M&A brokerage firm helping digital business owners achieve the perfect exit. So we will be talking with Christine about all the do's and don'ts, the trials and tribulations, what to do. And so glad to be speaking with you, Christine.
Yes, thank you so much, Robert, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too. And I love this concept. I wish when I was a little kid, someone taught me this idea sooner, that you should be building a business so that others run it, or that way you can sell it, because it's so easy to fall into that trap of struggling too much, of building yourself a different job. And so that's just my ideas right off the bean. But as far as you personally, what is your elevator pitch? What's your focus and passion? What are you all about in your own words?
Yes, entrepreneurship. I was born to do this. I know without a doubt, girls selling the candy bars out of the backpack, had a snow cone stand instead of lemonade. And so, yeah, my whole life, I sleep, eat, breathe business without a doubt. I love every minute of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I just had my 20-year anniversary of starting my first company, it flew by.
Well, congratulations on that milestone. What are you doing to celebrate?
So I'm actually going to put, you guys will see it on my socials. I am actually, I have a cake with the logos of all my business, most of them, not all of them. There's too many, on the cake, and I'm going to blow out some candles, and that's my celebration.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. But, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
I like that. That's cute. And so would you say, do you have any thoughts about, you have this cake with all the different companies. Do you have any thoughts about the right size or the right number? Because you hear about sometimes, Mark Zuckerberg made Facebook in 2004 and he's just stuck with it. But then sometimes you have these entrepreneurs that they kind of create something, or they buy and they sell at the right time, and they kind of have this portfolio. So what are your thoughts on that? As far as should we be looking to build on get a certain portfolio company? Should we buy and sell? Should we just stick with one? Does it depend on our personality? What are your thoughts as far as just the quantity of the buying and selling of it?
Ooh, Robert, great question. I've got a few thoughts on this. So, 10 of the companies I built from scratch, ground up, bootstrapped all of them. It was crazy. The tech company I did not bootstrap. I raised capital from angels. So I am a startup junkie. I love the creation part, the innovation part. I'll see a need missing in the marketplace. And my businesses have that ran the gamut. They're not all the same industry whatsoever. They're mostly service-based. House cleaning company, wellness spa, car rent, luxury car rental business, social media firm, tech company, anyways, all over. It's crazy. That's not the direction most people will go in, but I get a lot of fulfillment if I overhear somebody, mentioning cleanology. And I'm like, oh my God, I started that company 20 years ago. And they're like, really? So I get a lot of, and the jobs I've created, right? Okay, that's not the path most people take. The other path would be to, buy a business that's cash flowing already. That is ideal. Now that I know that, and I've done that recently a few times where I've flipped companies. So I can buy them, during COVID, I took over 2 spas. I flipped them, 15 months later, I resold them. One was given to me for free during COVID. So the kind of buy and sell flips is fun for people buying a cash flowing business to replace your salary, corporate hell. That's what people are doing right now. So they got a taste of COVID freedom, go back to corporate. They hate it. Now they're getting an SBA loan, pulling from their 401k, pulling equity out of their home, and they're buying a cash flowing business to replace their salary, which is super smart. So I love seeing that. So yeah, that is easier world and an easier way to play for sure.
I love it. And it sounds like you cracked the code in theory, but I'm sure that there's theory and there's reality, right? There's the fear that I might mess this up, or I might take this loan and then maybe the numbers make sense on paper, but I take this loan and then I buy this cash flowing business, but then I mess it up and then it crashes and burns. And now I'm in debt. Plus I have a failing business. And these are all just perhaps just some unfounded fears that people have, or their own self-doubt, or themselves holding them back from risk. But I mean, this is what goes through my mind, right? When I hear about some of these things. And so like, what are your thoughts? Like if it's just that easy, right? To get an SBA loan or get some equity out of your home and find just the right business, like why doesn't everyone do this? Or what are maybe the mistakes to be avoided to overcome this fear?
Yeah, if it's, and I have a lot of conservative friends and I have, conservative buyers, those are their exact worries, right? And I get it, especially if you're not a born entrepreneur or business owner, it's very scary, right? Your risk tolerance is lower. You have a family, you have kids, you don't want to put your house on the line. I get it. SBA is the best route to go to first, without a doubt. This is the reason. They're super strict. They're going to comb through that business and I'm on the seller side. So it's kind of like when the buyer goes SBA, I'm kind of like, oh boy, because they comb through and it takes forever. However, for that buyer, just keep in mind, it is a 98% success rate, 98%. Only 2% of people fail their business if it's an SBA loan, right? So that's amazing odds. You're putting about 10% down, 10 to 20 at most. You could buy $1 million company, put 100K down, maybe you were made, maybe that $1 million company's cash flowing about 250,000. You're easily replacing your salary. They will ask for a personal guarantee. But again, you got to believe in yourself and that business enough to, be willing to do that. I'm all about personal guarantees. I even do them on leases, even though people told me not to do that all the time, but I still did it because I believe it's going to work out.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you figured out a lot, but there's also a lot to jump into, right? Because like some of these things that you've been mentioning, it sounds like, man, she's got all these things figured out. She's got life figured out, right? You just you do this due diligence and you get this SBA loan and it seems like a lot of it revolves around kind of making the numbers work. But how does someone even just like begin to even approach this? Because I'm thinking like, man, like you could where do you find the businesses? Like, what do you look for? Is there some overlap with your passion? My brain is just like, where do I even start?
Yeah, so I wasn't passionate about house cleaning. That was my first business. And I did have to start when, I was young. I'm in my early 20s and started with $300 and a vacuum cleaner and a couple of women that didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish. And so, a year and a half of cleaning houses and bartending. And I was passionate about creating a really cool company, even if it wasn't in a sexy industry. So passion does help. It does help if you have passion in the industry. It's not necessary, right? So I would tell everybody listening, watching, I would say, read the book Buy Then Build by Walker Dybel. Amazing book. Okay. Teaching you A to Z, all the benefits, all the reasons, why buying and then building it up versus, starting from scratch makes way more sense. So I would for sure start with that book as point number one.
Okay, so buy then build, and you're tapping into, you always think about the entrepreneurial common factors, right? What are all the successful people have in common, like a think and grow rich type of stuff? And it seems like the one of these common factors is being curious and always being a reader. There's some scary statistic that I think it's like 40% of college graduates don't even read a book after college. And it's like, that's like scary, but also somehow I believe it. So it's like, we need to be always learning and always reading. And then there's that whole concept of I read a book and I talk to someone else about it and they've only read like the first chapter or two. They haven't actually gone through and like fully engulfed it. So you're saying this book, Buy Then Build, we need to read it. We need to digest and absorb it and go through the whole thing. And that way we have somewhat of this plan. And so that way we kind of have the structure and we know what to do. And so you mentioned like you love this whole idea of the like SBA loan, and you mentioned some of these businesses, like there's the rental car company and the cleaning. Is there any that stand out as like your favorite? Is there like a number one business that you've bought and owned?
Yeah, that's easy, but I will make a point to the learning and the reading you just mentioned. So Dan Kennedy, a great, amazing marketer, old school, but I've been following him since day one. So he says, poor people have big TVs, rich people have big libraries. And when I was cleaning homes, the penthouses in downtown San Diego I was cleaning. One just had this beautiful, massive, an entire wall of books. They didn't have a TV in their home. Majority of these beautiful condos I was cleaning, there were no TVs. So there's something to be said about that. I love that quote. I have a custom bookcase in my place, floor to ceiling. I mean, it's narrow. It's not a whole wall. And now I'm on audiobooks. I think I have like 200 audiobooks, but then it would be probably the whole wall. So I think that's important for people to know. And again, and people, after reading that book, we're launching our buy side division because we usually only work on the sell side with sellers, but I'm so passionate also about working with the buyers. So most our buyers that buy the companies we have are not represented and they're first time business buyers. So like, I love working with them simultaneously, but now we're also going to just, if a buyer came to us and was like, Christine, I need help finding a business. Where do I start? How do I know what to buy? Then now our firm can help them. So favorite business is Eco Chateau Wellness Spa. That's easy to answer for me. That was lucky number 7 business out of the 10 startups. Amazing team of women, 37 employees. I bootstrapped the heck out of that thing. I sold spa memberships, and this is 2012. So this is back before like you could pay a monthly spa membership. So I had recurring revenue. I pre-sold annual spa memberships, about $15,000 worth. So that helped with the build out. So that means we had money coming in before I even signed the lease. And yeah, 37 women. We grew to 2 locations. It was so much fun. Yeah, it was just such a great, and it was like a rocket ship, like growing so fast. And it's still the same, it was 8 years ago I sold it, and the same husband and wife still own it. I still go in once a month for treatments. So yeah, that's an easy answer.
And I hope they gave you like a lifetime free forever sort of deal, right?
They paid a lot of money for that business, right? I ran the transaction. I priced it extremely high. I thought, people would come in under the price. I was like, oh, let me price it high and then we'll negotiate because I love negotiating. And then they came in full price within 5 weeks. It was an SBA loan. It took 94 days to close. It was extremely stressful when the SBA said, 45-day close. That's never the case. So that was interesting to be from the other side of an SBA loan. But yeah, no, everybody says that. So I get 20% off.
Okay.
Everybody's like, you should be for free. I'm like, they paid a lot of money for that business. I got a discount.
Well, fair enough. Well, that 20% must still feel good. And so is there something to having there's like a money mindset, but is there like an accounting numbers mindset that's important? Because a lot of what you're talking about here is talking about negotiating and loans and things like that. And like, how significant is that in your own journey as far as just like having the brain for the negotiating and the accounting and the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, like any entrepreneur visionary, we don't like the numbers and the math and the spreadsheet and the bookkeeping. So for those listening that you always want to outsource what you hate doing, because otherwise it's going to take like 3 times as long, right, to do it. So I had the same bookkeeper for like 17 years and she just retired out. I'm lucky I got a great replacement a couple months ago. So that was sad, but yeah, bookkeeping, not my forte. I do think having a numbers brain, right? I still like when there's a dollar sign in front of the number, then I'm real good at math. A fun little quick story. When I was 11, again, I was selling stuff out of my backpack at school, and we're at Costco. I tell my dad, I want this thing of bubble gum. There's like 20 packs. I'm like, hey, I want to buy this so I can sell it at school. And then he goes, well, you need to pay for it. I hand him the $14. And I go home and then I start taking the packs out and I use a calculator. I'm like, oh, if I sold every pack for like 50 cents each, and then I subtract what I had to pay my dad just now, how much money will I have left over? So it's genuinely calculating profit. I didn't know that's what it was called back then. But I was just doing that just by nature. So yeah, I think high level, every business owner, gets their numbers, but they won't know them they won't know them inside out. Every single seller we have, they say it, and every single one feels bad. I'm so embarrassed. I don't know my numbers. I'm like, all of us don't know all our numbers. Like, we're too busy selling and growing the business and managing the employees.
Well, that's reassuring that if you, like you said, if you hate it or you're not good at it, then have that external bookkeeper to do do what you can't or won't or don't want to do. And there's also something that you like reawakened a memory in me, because I think I used to do similar things like that, like just kind of having the Spiral Bound notebook and just like kind of writing down or doodling down like the plans, the scenarios, and even at that young age, like knowing it's not 100% realistic, but just getting excited, literally getting excited about like writing down numbers and like mathematical calculations on the paper because there's a dollar sign in it, right? Because it's money, because you're thinking about the possibilities. And I think there's something to that of just like tapping back into the child era imagination of like anything is possible, and just kind of going through the what ifs and like a few scenarios, and just getting excited about like taking action and about the future and about multiplying and growing. And so this whole idea here of exiting a business or like buying it and growing it, many people talk about this idea because it's so cool, it's so exciting. It's what a lot of us need to be doing instead of building a new job. But what makes you stand out? Like as far as this like process you have and what you do to help these business owners exit, what is unique about you?
I mean, this is business brokerage is such a dated industry. It's equivalent to like a lot of these guys are in their 70s. They're still using fax machines. I am not making that up. I've
Including
got a
Dan
fun
Kennedy,
little,
right? He's all about the
no,
fax machine.
yeah, which I get. It's so funny. I'm re-listening. I'm listening to all his old books, right? And again, I remember being in my early 20s, reading those books, the same books. And it's just like the stuff I need to think. I met him once in person, but like the stuff I've implemented in the last 15 years was because like the time management, the managing of employees, like to listen to those same books now that I was reading the hard copies back in the day. I'm like, whoa, I learned and implemented so much stuff he taught. And yeah, the fact that the time management is pretty badass. I'm like, dang, if I could just give me all my emails once a week, imagine how much more productive I would be. But yeah, it's just to that point. What was the question? Sorry, I got sidetracked on Dan Kennedy.
Your uniqueness.
Yeah, so I got a character. His name is Broker Bob. He's on all her social media. And it's just me dressed up as an old man doing improv. And it's literally the stories I see. Like a lot of it's like real life stuff on what they say, how they treat people in the transactions. It's a really dated industry, dated processes. So yeah, I just was like, let's take this to the next level. We have a ton of automations. We use technology on our end in our firm to automate a lot of the follow-up, because a buyer calls about one of our listings and you gotta reach out quick, right? We're reaching out, call, text, email every other day, relentlessly, about 5 times over. And if they're not gonna get mad, they're either gonna say, no, I pass, or people are busy these days, so they need that much follow-up. So it's just the follow-up. The team is young, my entire team. Our sellers are young. So we've got Gen Z millennials. I am literally the oldest person in the firm, which is totally fine. And so everybody's just a badass. And then, yeah, my clients, the youngest to exit was 21. The oldest was 47, which is not old for exiting a company. Most of them are in their 30s. So yeah, it's just a younger, fun vibe. Yeah, we sell very fast. We sell for higher multiples. Marketing. So marketing is a marketing show. We're really good at packaging a business, finding all the gems out of it. It's not like BS. It's not like putting lipstick on a pig, which a lot of people do. Like our listings are A++. I'm super picky about who we take on. I'm going to take the business. I'm going to find all these little gems. We're going to do a beautiful pitch deck, put it in a data room, really present the business in the best light. And I know that's why we're getting higher multiples and selling quickly.
Wonderful. And there's some amazing lessons in what you just said there. And like what comes to mind is blending the old with the new, right? You talked about Dan Kennedy and about having like all these books and bookcases. And, some of these books are from 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and they have all these kind of tried and true methods, and many things we can go and look, and they're just not talked about anymore, and we can bring them back to life or just kind of use these fundamentals. And then you combine that with all the crazy things the Gen Zs are tapping into with the TikToks and with the automated follow-up and the text messaging and the working on things fast. But it can be overwhelming. It can be a big, long, exhaustive list of things to do. But then you combine that with the other idea you just said there of looking at the gems. And people call this things like the 80-20 rule or are like looking at your results. And that's also really important when you think about the modern day short attention span. There's all these things you could say, right? Especially when you're selling a business and look at all these numbers and look at all these fundamentals and all these features, but you pick and choose them to kind of maybe sort and reorder about, well, what do people really care about? What do they really want to know about? What gets them excited? And you present those first. I mean, there's some amazing lessons there. And so if someone is excited and energized and eager and hungry to look into this, to look into buying and selling a business, what is the exact sort of service? Like, how does someone know if they're prepared to work with you? And if they are, where do they go?
So I'll start, on the sell. We kind of talked about the buy side already. The sell side, the people that come to us are like already working on the next business. They're already excited, and so I'm like, oh, when do you want to sell? And they're like, yesterday. So there's no really exit plan. Like I never even made an exit plan, with really anybody. And there's no starting. It's like entrepreneurs didn't have like a starting plan, they're going to have an exit plan, they're just kind of like going a million miles an hour. And so they come to us, they want to sell immediately. For them to be prepped, I mean, in a perfect world, here's what they need to do. Their books need to be in some sort of order. Of course, we're always like cleaning them up for them because they're usually not all the way in the right order. But that's okay. We're happy to do that. They need to be removed, not all the way from the business because that's impossible, but like a sweet spot is like 10 to 15 hours a week that they're working. So try to strip, if you're the face of the business and you're doing all the sales and the biz dev and like the whole thing is wrapped around you, it's not impossible to sell, but it means you're going to have an earn out. It means you're going to have to stay with whoever buys you for probably a year or two. And again, we really try to avoid that. You do not want to do that. It's not a great situation usually. And then you want to have a solid team, obviously. You want to have an amazing reputation. So these are kind of the things, if you have them in place, then that's a great position. And profitable, number one, profitable. Profitable businesses are flying off the shelf right now for the obvious reasons I explained in the beginning. SBA loans, access to capital is easy for cash flowing businesses. It's impossible right now if a business is like not cash flowing. So those are the main things. If you got those in line, at least 2 years in business, do not say you're burned out. Let me give this tip because I saw this recently. That is not what you're going to market saying. You're not like, I hate my employees and I'm burned out and that's why I'm selling. No buyer wants to hear that. And let me tell you right now, the very first question every single time out of a potential buyer's mouth is, if this business is so great, why are they selling? Okay, so more legit answers would be, I'm retiring. Again, ours are young, so they're not. I've started my next venture. Hey, all my sellers right now, almost every single one of them is either having their first child or their second child. So it's like, hey, I want to be more of a dad, right? I want to stay home more. I'm ready to take some chips off the table, chill for a little bit, start my new venture. Those are legit reasons, right? Those are good reasons and real reasons.
I like that a lot. Put your best foot forward. It tells a way better story that, oh, I'm so burned out. I hate this business so much. Here, do you want it? You want to give me some money for it? It makes a lot of sense that it should be a business that you said all these things, that it should be something that does not depend on you, that you kind of unravel yourself from the business a little bit. You have a strong team. It's cash flowing. It's profitable. And so that way it's a nice, enticing package for someone to go in and get that cash flowing business from you. And like I said at the beginning, when we started talking, like, I wish I'd known about this concept years ago. It seems like you said, it's one of these things that's as old as time, but it's easy for us entrepreneurs to not be as business minded as we could or should be. So this is a goal for us to build towards, right? To make a business where it is sellable, where we can offload it. That way we can either stick with it and just let it run on its own, or do other things, or sell it, or just have more options in life. So if someone says more options in life sounds great, right? More possibilities, more freedom, and everything that goes with that, then what is the website? What is the call to action?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me personally on LinkedIn very easily, Christine McDannell. I'm great. If you want to message me there, any questions, happy to help. The magnoliafirm.co is the firm. If you type in the Magnolia Firm on any social channel, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, now TikTok again, even though I paused it, but I guess like our demographic is on there. I thought maybe they weren't. Those are all the social channels. They can find us all over the place.
Fantastic. The Magnolia Firm, if you're a Googler, or themagnoliafirm.co. And then Christine McDannell on LinkedIn. That last name is McDannell. And we've had such a fun conversation here, Christine, talking about the possibilities and some of your fun stories. And as we wrap up our conversation, it's time to put you on the spot and ask you for a quote or lesson that you want to share with us. It doesn't have to be a favorite quote, doesn't even have to apply to today, but it's just a quote or lesson. What jumps out from your cerebral cortex?
Ooh, I know, and I'm such a quote junkie too, for sure. Ooh, that's a tricky one. Hire slow and fire fast is the one I say a lot. Especially the fire fast part, right? You know, if you have a toxic employee, you gotta get them out of there. And it's the hardest thing for it's 20 years in, it's so hard for me to fire anybody. So I would say that would be a big one.
One of many unexpected skills that we've had to learn as entrepreneurs, right? You pick up all these things, you're like, didn't know I had to learn that or had to build up the muscle for that. And it's just part of the journey of going through the struggles and toughening up and just having a blast doing it. So if you want to join Christine in this fun entrepreneurial journey, if you're so tired, let's not say burnt out, but if you just don't want to go it alone anymore, if you don't like the chaos, if you don't leaving it up to chance, then get that extra help and contact themagnoliafirm.co, and we will see you there. And thank you very much, Christine, for blowing our minds, giving us all this advice. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, and I'll say one last thing. Our book comes out this month called Get Acquired. So anybody that wants to sell their business and wants to try to sell it on their own, which is great. I'm an advocate for that. I'm not biased on that. Go for it. And we're giving away free copies. So yeah, hit us up. It's coming out in December. It's coming out for the end of the year.
I love it. Get Acquired. Christina McDannell, future #1 Amazon bestselling author. You heard it here first.
Love it. Thanks, Robert.